Hi, I'm John, and welcome to another episode of This Is My Architecture. I'm joined today by Dave from Druva CloudRanger. Thanks for joining us, Dave.
Sure.
Maybe you could tell us a little bit about what CloudRanger do for your customers.
So we see ourselves as the easiest to use enterprise backup and disaster recovery platform for Amazon. And really just helping customers manage their end-to-end disaster recovery needs on the Amazon platform.
Cool. I'm excited to see the details behind how you make this work. So maybe we could start, if you could talk us through, as a customer, you log onto your website for the first time. What happens? How does it work?
Absolutely. So we're entirely built on Amazon services, which is great. So the experience from a customer perspective is pretty seamless and incredibly fast. And it's driven at the start by a static website in S3 that's served through CloudFront. And that's powered by API Gateway in the background, using both Lambda here and Aurora databases. So all this information is passing through Lambda, API Gateway, and back through our S3 powered website. And then we use that to generate a CloudFormation template to get access to the customer's account.
Okay, very cool. And so for the customer's account, you effectively use delegate access?
Absolutely. So it's third-party access roles that we use. And again, we try to follow, or we do follow Amazon's best practices entirely. So we generate a CloudFormation template that describes exactly the policy, giving us only the required access we need to the account. And it allows the customer to see exactly the permissions that we're getting and making sure that we have as limited permissions as we need. So using CloudFormation just makes that process really simple for the customer to set up their access and give us the access to their Amazon account, so we can then start building a model in our Aurora database of their Amazon infrastructure.
Okay. So you actually build a model in Aurora of the customer's account?
Yes, absolutely. So
and how do you make use of that?
So we use that to there's a suite of Lambda functions that are constantly checking the customer's Amazon account, and then taking that and populating it into our Aurora instance, which is then allows us to have things like their EC2 instances, their EBS volumes, anything that we operate on, and present it back to the interface, so the customer can start building backup policies, disaster recovery plans, and start the process of actually testing and automating that.
Right, okay, very cool. So the customer can essentially test disaster recovery much more easily because the whole process is automated for them.
Absolutely. So this is really key for us. Again, using Lambda and serverless allows us to do this very, very quickly for the customer. So we have a suite of, again, Lambda functions that are constantly executing against the customer's account. They build out CloudFormation templates and then actually execute those CloudFormation templates. And when we do that, it allows us to then record how long it takes, provide that our RTO back to the customer so they can see exactly how long a disaster recovery plan will operate for them.
Okay, right, very cool. So they can play around to figure out what's going to get them the lowest RTO.
Absolutely.
Looking at this, one thing that occurs to me is most of our customers these days, it's rare that they'll have an entirely self-contained estate. Is there any aspect of the design here that will allow for third-party extensibility? Exactly,
and so one of the reasons we picked serverless in the beginning was it allowed that to happen so easily. So we drive all of our processing through SQS and SNS, and what that means is then we can then start building out all these Lambda functions to access the likes of Slack, for example. So we have a notification system that will send notification to Slack for a customer. We can do the same for email, as an example, and that's a configuration the customer can pick in the interface. For us, it's just another Lambda function that takes the same message and sends it to a different endpoint. So the more Lambda functions we write, the more extensibility we have.
Right, okay. And stepping back for a second, I noticed, and you mentioned it yourself, that the entire architecture is serverless. So you mentioned about third-party extensibility being a reason for that. Any other reasons why that? Was that a deliberate choice?
Absolutely. Cost being a huge reason, flexibility, allowing us to extend it as quickly as possible, but also security. We can really isolate each Lambda function to do one job, have its own subnet, so it really isolates from a security perspective to make sure that if there's ever a compromise, that it's restricted to its access.
Right, okay. I guess the only other thing to ask is what next?
There's so many things we're looking to do. Looking to add things like machine learning onto our automated disaster recovery platform to help give customers even better feedback to understand what's going to happen in case of disaster.
Oh, okay. That is really cool. Thank you very much for sharing that with us.
Sure.
And thank you for joining another episode of This Is My Architecture.